Heute geht's wieder los. Wir trinken Whisky. Herzlich willkommen zu unserem monatlichen Whisky Talk.
Hier kann ich tatsächlich immer zusagen, der ist für mich immer lecker, ist irgendwie ein bisschen beständiger.
Man merkt, ich kriege überhaupt nichts hin hier heute, aber ich habe auch schon am Bier gelippt.
Das hat das Schöne bei solchen Brennereien, genau dieses Alleinstellungsmerkmal, was wir immer überall rausstellen.
Wir haben hier mindestens einen 12 Jahre alten Whisky und einen 4 Jahre alten.
Alle denken immer so, sie müssten schottischen Whisky erstmal trinken. Das ist Quatsch, es gibt so viele gute Whiskybrennereien überall. Die gefallen mir ganz gut. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Episode vom Heimathaven Whisky Talk. Wir haben uns, glaube ich, lange Zeit gelassen, bis wir weitergemacht haben mit dieser Runde. Es gab eine sehr, sehr lange Sommerpause und jetzt sind wir endlich zurück mit spannenden Infos rund um Whiskys, mit tollen Gesprächen, mit großartigem Fachwissen. Okay, das alles vielleicht ganz leicht übertrieben, aber es könnte ganz interessant werden heute. Wir haben nämlich 4 spannende Whiskys wieder, die wir heute probieren. Heute sind wir mit Turntable am Start. Das heißt, wir haben Turntable Spirits, 4 spannende Whiskys, haben einen tollen Gast natürlich wieder dabei, der euch erzählen wird, was sich hinter der Marke verbirgt, was sich hinter den Whiskys verbirgt. Und ich werde ihm ganz viele Sachen aus dem Kreuz leiern, dass er uns Informationen gibt, die noch niemand auf dieser Welt jemals vorher erfahren hat. Übrigens, heute sind wir nur über YouTube zu sehen, nicht auf Facebook. Es liegt daran, dass ich mit allem wieder zu spät dran war und irgendwie dieses Abo-Ding nicht verlängert habe. Da müssen wir heute einmal durch, aber ich glaube, wir schaffen das alle. Es wird deswegen ja nicht schlechter, sondern nur konzentrierter auf einen Kanal. Und unterstützt werden wir heute wieder mal, oder ich wieder mal von meinem langjährigen Freund Daniel, der schon in den Startlöchern steht, der sich schon warm geboxt hat, der schon 12 Whiskys vorher getrunken hat, um quasi alle danach besser verstehen zu können. Hier ist er für euch, Daniel.
I'm a Firestarter. Hi, moin.
Na?
Du hast uns
heiß?
Voll geil, du hast uns so gut unterbrochen. Ich habe mit unserem Gast gerade schon 5 Minuten geredet und er war schon voll im Flow. Ich habe gesagt, die Fragen stelle ich gleich alle nochmal, weil nämlich richtig interessant. Er hat Bock zu erzählen und er ist richtig heiß auf seinen Stoff. Das finde ich schon mal gut. Das macht ihm Spaß.
Hervorragend. Ich glaube, ich habe auch versucht, euch zu sagen, ey, ich schmeiß euch jetzt raus, weil wir müssen jetzt starten. Und zwar
mit einem Satz so.
Also zwei quasi wie so 2 Quasseltanten, die da quasi cool mitten im Gespräch waren und sie wollten einfach nicht aufhören. Ich musste sie stoppen. Daniel, du hast ja schon sehr, sehr lange die Samples zu Hause. Hast du schon probieren können?
Ja, ich habe sogar schon an der Flasche gerochen.
Genau. Um ehrlich zu sein, ich bin heute wieder auf dem letzten Drücker unterwegs gewesen. Ich war den ganzen Tag im Oldenburger Laden und habe heute dann erst auf dem Weg von Oldenburg nach Bremen hierher ins Büro, wo ich gerade bin, ihm die Samples reingebracht. Und er steht so, kommst du heute noch? Was ist mit den Samples? Ich so, ja, ich bin auf dem Weg, entspann dich, ich bin noch gleich da. Und war dann quasi um 6:45 bei dir gerade eben. Und dann musste ich natürlich noch weiterfahren von dem Ort, wo er wohnt, von München quasi ungefähr nach Bremen. Bin ich dann eben noch schnell geflogen und da bin ich schon. Ich habe die Sachen mir gestern schon ins Büro gestellt, das heißt, ich habe hier schon guten Schnaps stehen, den probieren wir heute und da reden wir heute drüber und nicht nur miteinander, Daniel.
Genau. Lass das Niveau mal anheben ein bisschen und lass mal den Gast reinholen.
Genau. Hier ist, ich wollte gerade sagen, was ist ein Upsala? Warte mal, hier ist mein neuer bester Freund. Oder dein neuer bester Freund, ihr habt ja geredet, als ob ihr schon 20 Jahre miteinander zu tun hättet. Hier ist einer der sympathischsten Menschen, die ich kenne in diesem ganzen Whisky-Business. Ich kenne den schon ein paar Jahre, er hat vorher für andere Spirituosen-Companies gearbeitet und dann gesagt, jetzt reicht's mir, ich werde mein eigener Chef, ich gründe mein eigenes Label. Hier ist für euch Ellie von Turntable. Welcome.
Hey guys,
welcome.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. So we met 15 minutes ago, starting the conversation and talking about the room in which you are sitting. So you are at your parents' home at the moment?
Yeah, I just flew back from New York today, and my parents were kind enough to watch my dog Bertie, who's currently sleeping on the bed while I was away. So I'm picking up Bertie, staying here tonight, and then go home tomorrow. So joining you from my parents' place. Yeah.
Okay, so nice to have you here. I told the audience we know each other for quite a couple of years because you worked for some spirit companies before.
Yeah.
What's your personal history? Can you
Yeah,
tell
sure.
us?
No, so I've worked in the Scotch whisky industry for about 10. I worked with Ben Distillery Company at the beginning, so that was Benriach, Glendronach, and Glenglassa, and I worked with them for about 5 years or so. It was
Oh, jetzt hakt's ein bisschen.
Schade, es lief gerade so schön die ganze Zeit. Haben wir
Ja, genau.
geschnackt.
Gerade lief die ganze Zeit rund und jetzt ist das Internet aus der EU nicht mehr in Großbritannien angekommen, scheinbar. No.
Oh, still here?
Yeah, we hear you, but yeah, now it's better, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, so I was working with Benriach, Glendronach, and Glenglassa, mainly working in the export sales side of things, and then worked there for 5 years or so. Some great brands, great experience, and then the company was acquired by Brown-Forman from America, and I stayed there through the acquisition for about a year or so. But in the background, one of the previous owners of Benriach had pulled together a small team to acquire Glenallachie Distillery from Pernod Ricard. So when that acquisition was completed, I moved to Glenallachie Distillery and worked there for 3 years or so, which was really an amazing experience. So it was such an unusual opportunity that you'd have a sort of working distillery with fantastic stock dating back sort of 30 years to 40 years. And there was no brand attached to it. It had always been used as a component for Pernod Ricard blended whiskies. So nobody was really familiar with Glenallachie as a single malt. So there was an opportunity for us to sort of create a core range and create a brand and bring a completely new brand to the market with some amazing quality whiskies. And obviously a great chance for me to work quite closely with both these companies as well and get a real understanding of the whiskey development and the blending side of things, especially at Glenallachie as well. So that was a really good time. And I also spent a period working distilling as well, which was really, really cool. Obviously, my time working with Benriach and then Glenallachie, I'd say some really outstanding whiskies and sort of very focused in the specialist retail channel, sort of in whiskey shops, and supported them very well. Brewdog Distilling was maybe a little different in that it was a full spirits portfolio, also working across different channels, so slightly bigger marketing budgets and opportunities within that, and obviously focusing a little more on the on-trade and the multiple retail. So a bit of a different learning for me, but I wanted to work for myself and set up my own project, or specifically my brother Gordon, who's worked in the industry for 10 years or so as well. So we started Turntable and launched the brand just at the beginning of this year for us.
Okay.
But really,
but it looks a little bit like you wanted to start a music label. But you got no artists, and then said, okay, what else do we have? We have whiskey, so let's go with whiskey.
Each bottle is named after.
You've definitely got it. You've got it the wrong way around. I would say the first love is definitely whiskey. The second love is music.
Okay.
So trying to find a way to combine those two passions, but whiskey is the number one passion. I always think there's a really kind of interesting connection between whiskey and music as well, and it's a cool area for us to try and explore that connection as well.
Okay, so tell us, what is the idea behind Turntable Blending House?
Sure. So as I said, I've worked in whiskey for 10 years or so, and my brother Gordon, he's the same. He worked with Inverhouse for 9 years and Douglas Lang for a year as well, so experience with some really great whiskey brands. And we've both been fortunate enough to travel the whiskey world quite far and wide. And I guess we've always been a little frustrated by this perception that single malt is seen as quality and blends are seen as volume. And we really wanted to try and challenge that perception. So we started looking into the reason for that perception in quite a deep way. So we sort of thought, if you think to when blending started, it started with the best of intentions. It started with sort of flavor development, quality, consistency, and blended whiskies really drove the success of Scotch whisky and have driven the success of Scotch whisky for a long, long time. And we almost thought, like, in some ways it drove the industry to so much success so quickly that blenders maybe struggle to keep up with the demand. They struggle to have the supply to keep up with the demand, and some shortcuts were maybe taken. So things like using younger whiskies, using refill casks again and again, maybe using higher proportion of grain whiskies in the blends, and maybe sometimes the quality was not quite where it was originally as well. But we think the philosophy of blending in terms of the opportunity for creativity and flavor development is a fantastic philosophy. And then I guess we also kind of looked at what we think people really love about single malt Scotch whisky and what has driven that trend over the last 20 or 30 years. So, of course, quality is very much driving it, but we also feel like consumers today really want to feel connected to the brand. They want to feel a connection with the people making the whiskey, with the place that it's made, with the history, with the casks, with all the production, all the details. So we almost thought with Turntable, can we find a way to try and combine the best of both? Can we take the creativity and flavor from blending, but combine that with the care to detail and the transparency and the connection from single malts? So yeah, we created Turntable Blending House, or small batch blended whiskey, focusing on innovation, quality, transparency, everything natural color, non-chill filtered, 46%, and trying to call out the components of the blend where possible as well. So trying to give the percentages, what distillery it came from, what cask it's matured in, what flavor that brings to the overall blend, just to try and break these barriers down and build that connection with people that we're trying to make whiskey the right way, but focusing on blends.
Okay, but why did you choose a music topic for your whiskies?
That's, I think, as I said, a sort of second passion for Gordon and I is the musical side, but I like the thought. I think whiskey and music have this unusual ability to take people to a sort of different place or a different time. So I sort of think if I'm away somewhere else in the world traveling and you close your eyes and you take a sip of whiskey, depending on what whiskey it is, it can take you somewhere completely different. I think music has that same ability. So I think just looking at, exploring that connection, what whiskies pair well with what music, or how we feel about that music, how other people feel about that. But that's the marketing angle for us, and just combining two passions. As I said, the number one passion and the top priority, the top focus is very much the whiskey and the quality of the whiskey out there.
All right. When you started with I think 4 tracks with 4 special releases.
3. So we released 3 whiskies that we bottled in. I think it was we bottled in April.
Purple Haze and Joy.
Firestarter, yes.
Exactly. So we started in this year with those 3, and they were about 1,500 bottles of each release, and they were pretty much all. So from our end, these whiskies have been sold out a few months now, and we just followed up with the core range just 1 month ago. So it's all exciting, but yeah, the first 3 tracks, as you said, was track 1, Joy, Discovery, Invention, track 2, Firestarter, and track 3, Purple Haze.
Okay.
All right. So here we have a comment from Joshua.
Exactly. No, I love that comment. Honestly, I think it's just sometimes today, even the word blending can hold poor connotations and poor stereotypes, and I think it's for us the best thing we can do in terms of brand building are evenings like this, talking about the whiskies, how we're going about the blending process, how we're going about the cask selection process, but above all else, letting people taste the whiskies, open the bottles, let people taste, and hopefully can do the talking as well.
Okay, so as long as we do the whiskey talk, I think we talk about the quality of blended whiskey, and we are like an advertising company for blends, I think.
Yes.
Awesome.
Without getting paid for that. So Daniel, we have to talk about that later. So, but we always have a blend in our regular tastings in the shops, and people always don't believe that this is a blend, because they always think blend is something that is not.
A single malt is a blend too.
Yeah. So.
Well,
Exactly what people do not know, that a single malt is a blended whiskey, normally. So
exactly, I always found that interesting, even when if I was things on Glenallachie or Benriach or single malt brands, you talk about the blend of different casks to pull together that expression of whiskey, and sometimes it's you just need it just takes some talking and explaining and tasting. Yeah.
So let's stop talking about whiskey. Let's drink a whiskey. We said, I think we start with one of your first releases. Well, with the first release was track 1. And I think you said you are sold out, but I think in Germany, our importer, there are some bottles left. So if our customers want to buy a bottle, I think they will get a bottle from us. So it's no problem.
Nice.
I have this one here. This is where we start with, is a Turntable track 1, and I will show you here. So the price is $74.90, but so the price is what it's worth, I think.
I think it's very good. It's a fly in.
Okay, the fly likes it.
Nice.
So with this whiskey, we have a label where you wrote what it's inside. So you
great.
You say you were very transparent where the whiskey is coming from, and we have 4 distilleries inside. We have some different cask types, so it's a very, I think, special mix on the first view. So you have Chinkapin barrels, we have virgin oak, we have red wine, we have ex-cognac barrels. And we have 4 distilleries: Knockandoo, Linkwood. I think, how do you pronounce it? Gavin?
Yeah, Gavin. Yeah.
Gavin and Strathclyde. So there's a lot of information written on the bottle. So is this necessary today? Do you need that? Do the customers need this transparency?
I think it's not all customers need the full level of transparency, but I think with a lot of people it's appreciated. I think, and I don't know, for you guys, how do you feel about it? I mean, for me personally, if I'm picking up a bottle of blended whiskey and I could see a breakdown of what's in it, I find it quite interesting, and it gives me just that level of information. I feel better about parting with my money.
We do. But I don't know what the whiskey world normally say, because we are nerds. So we like all information we can get, and maybe it's just our cloud in which we are inside. So is the market the standard customer asking for that, or is
I think, I mean, for us now, I would say the brand has been quite well received with whiskey enthusiasts. So I think the enthusiastic whiskey consumer loves that level of information, and I think even just for Gordon and I, like personally, we are whiskey geeks as well. Like, we are passionate, we love it, so we will try to share that level of detail wherever possible. So on limited edition whiskies going forward, that's easier for us to do, because we'll only bottle these whiskies once and then never again.
Yeah.
We can give that level of detail on the packaging. The core range that we'll look at later is a little more challenging in that we will bottle these whiskies again. These will be regularly available.
Okay.
But we need the flexibility to amend the recipe a little each time, depending on stock availability, depending on the cask flavor profile, trying to create consistency. So for the core range, we've not included the breakdown on the packaging, but we'd include it on the website and keep it up to date on all our websites and share on socials online and share as much information as we can that way.
Okay, so thank you for that. So let's try smelling the whiskey, Daniel. That is normally your part. So I think he will do it in German for customers, for viewers. So Daniel, what is this whiskey about in your nose?
In German?
Das ist wahrscheinlich einfacher.
I smell Schinken peated. Also ich rieche auf jeden Fall richtig schön. Also Wurz als Holz rieche ich hier raus. Ich rieche Früchte, also Fruits. Der Compote of Fruits. Yes, also wirklich Fruchtkompott. Also nicht nur hell, nicht nur dunkle Früchte, irgendwie eine Mischung. Aber ich habe hier auch das Bourbonfass habe ich hier irgendwie drin. Also es ist schön. Ich habe keine Ahnung, ob man ein Cognac-Fass rausriechen kann, weiß ich nicht.
Weil du keinen Cognac kennst.
Wenig. Eher früher mal Brandy und sowas, ja. Ja, das war es eigentlich schon. Also ich habe hier Früchte, ich habe hier so ein bisschen diesen Virgin Oak Charakter, was ich sehr gerne mag. Also ich freue mich schon darauf zu trinken. Ich kenne ihn auch noch nicht. Aber das habe ich in der Nase. Aber viel mehr jetzt auch nicht. Und ich finde es auch super, dass wir nicht kühl gefiltert sind, nicht gefärbt und 46 Volumenprozente haben. Also da dürfte ganz gut was rüberkommen.
Sagen seine Lieblingstrinkstärke, ne? 46% ist das, was du gerne magst. Genau, ich habe gerade schon einmal dran genippt. Ich finde ihn tatsächlich richtig weich und rund und fruchtig.
Okay,
genau. In der Nase würde ich mich dem anschließen, was du gesagt hast. Und wir fragen mal Ellie, wie er ihn beschreiben würde, wie er Track 1 quasi beschreiben würde. Genau, Ellie, so how do you describe, or would you describe the taste and the flavor of Track 1?
I think this one for me is quite an unusual whiskey in that the highest sort of component whiskey include, which I usually think of that as sort of amazing grassy sort of light fruit style Speyside, which definitely comes. But I think the top notes on this whiskey are older grain whiskies. Those sort of tropical fruit, pineapple are the sort of top notes for me. So to give you an idea, the grain whiskies we use in this, the Gründer is 26 years old, the Strathclyde is 20. So the grain whiskies we're not using as just fillers for the volume. We're using them to really try and bring a different flavor element to the blend. So in general, the malt whiskies we're working 10 and 15 years old, and the grain whiskies are usually over 20.
Okay, but you did not write the age of the whiskies on the bottle.
So because due to SWA, so Scotch Whisky Association sort of regulations, you can only put the age of the youngest whiskey. So for this whiskey, the only age we could put, I think, is the Knock Do, which is 11 years old. Okay. We couldn't name anything else, even though I think the Gründer is 24% of the whiskey, which is 26 years old. So we actually better for all of our blends just to go non-age statement, and we can share these details with people. We're very happy to share verbally and things, but in terms of putting it on the packaging, we actually thought putting 11 years old on this is almost more misleading than putting nothing. So it's a tricky one. The truth is, like, we would love to be able to give the age of each component, especially on the packaging of our limited editions. Like we would love to.
Okay, and old grain is a great idea because there's no bitterness, nothing.
No. Honestly, when we're analysing each of the casks and things just at the start of pulling the blend together, like some of the old grain whiskies that we go through, I just love. I think they're some of the most exciting whiskies we look at.
Yeah, the younger ones are a little bit bitterness.
It can be, yeah. You just need to be patient.
Okay, we had some comments from the audience. So which says the fruit bomb, very, very fruity. Or Laura said it's a summer whiskey, fresh, exotical fruits, some vanilla. So I think it sounds very, very positive what the audience is saying about this whiskey. So we're a little bit sad that it's nearly sold out. So
it's the positive, I think you'll find for the first 3 limited editions that we did, we've kind of based the core range on those limited editions. So like in terms of flavor profile, and we tried to take some learnings from them and develop into a core range. And then in the future, the limited editions we release will try to do something completely different and focus on completely different flavor areas. But the next whiskey we'll taste, the Paradise Funk, I would say is like the core range that is kind of based on the track 1, Joy, Discovery, Invention.
Yeah. Okay, so let's maybe start with the second one with Paradise Funk. I would change my banner here. So, and the Paradise Funk, or your core range, is not that expensive like the first 3 whiskeys. So we have, I think, 20 euros less.
Yeah, that's about right, 54, 55 Euros, ja.
Ja. So, und für euch zu Hause eine Information, wir haben diese Whiskys, das ist aber mehr zeitlich dem geschuldet, noch nicht in den Online-Shop gepackt. Das werde ich hoffentlich in den nächsten 2-3 Tagen schaffen. Das heißt, wenn ihr da Interesse dran habt, die zu kaufen, könnt ihr mir ruhig vorab eine E-Mail schreiben. Die Kontaktadresse haben die meisten. Ansonsten schreibt an sm@heimathaven.com. Das ist meine persönliche E-Mail-Adresse. Da könnt ihr mir schreiben und schon mal die Hand heben für so einen Whisky. Vielleicht auch interessant, wenn ihr jetzt den nächsten Whisky Talk, der im November folgt, mitbestellen wollt. Dann können wir das zusammenschicken, gar kein Problem. Und genau, wenn ihr mir vorab eine E-Mail schreibt, bin ich auch gewillt, euch einen kleinen Rabatt einzuräumen, weil es noch nicht im Online-Shop ist. Aber wie gesagt, die nächsten Tage ist es drin. Wer mir vorher schreibt, kriegt guten Preis, gar kein Problem. So, I just told the audience that we will have the whiskies in the next 2 days in the online shop because I did not get ready until today.
Nice.
They can buy it tomorrow or the next day, I think. And they can write me an email now if they like to have one of these whiskeys and they get a special deal from me. So
nice.
Okay, so let's try Paradise Funk. Perfect. I love the name, and I don't know exactly. We met 1 month ago in Bremen here in the stadium as a small fair, and I don't remember exactly if I tried the whiskeys or not. So
you definitely didn't then. Definitely didn't.
Yeah. But I was there with some members of my team, and they tried them and they loved them, I know. But I think I had to work after the fair, so I was very picky that day. I said I will try them when we meet online. So this is
the right way to taste.
First time for me.
Nice.
Let's go. Daniel, it's your turn. Du darfst uns was erzählen, lieber.
Im Prinzip hat das ja schon ein bisschen vorweggenommen. Der ist dem ganz schön ähnlich, dem ersten. Ich finde, das, was wir gerade im Mund hatten, im Geschmack, erahne ich hier zu riechen. Also wieder so ein bisschen Virgin Oak Charakter, ein bisschen sehr. Ich finde hier die Früchte auch sehr, sehr dominant schon im Glas. Also eine ähnliche Fasskombination auch. Ja, das kommt für mich so ein bisschen wie so eine Grapefruit fast rüber in der Nase. So, aber ganz süß. Auch hier nicht bitter, sondern wirklich so eine richtig süße Note mit so, ja, irgendwo auch schon, also keine nicht dunkle Früchte Richtung Erdbeere, das ist das gar nicht, sondern das Grapefruit würde ich mich drauf festlegen wollen, ja.
Okay.
Cool.
Wir haben auf der Website übrigens ganz viele Informationen auch zu dem Whisky, also auf der turntablespirits.com habt ihr die Fasszusammenstellung. Da seht ihr genau, welche Whiskys hier drin sind. Wir haben hier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verschiedene. Auch da wieder ein bisschen die Fasskombination. Was für Fässer sind das? Da haben wir Knock and Do, Virgin Oak, wir haben In the Gordon, ein Ex-Cognac Barrel, wir haben Blair Ethel, Bourbon Barrel, wir haben Unnamed Speyside, Virgin Oak Barrel. Maybe Ali had not enough money to pay the distillery to get the name on his bottle. And North British Virgin Oak is so Ben Rins Chinkapin Barrel. And what I like is that you wrote the leading notes from each whiskey, from each barrel as information. So we have caramel, exotic fruit, toffee, warm cinnamon, vanilla, smooth vanilla, which comes from the single barrels. And I have a question from our customer of our tasting friend, Dram Experience. So maybe you can answer this question. Where do you buy the cars? Directly from the distilleries or from a broker? And how does it work? Is it?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So to be honest, like with Gordon, my background in the industry, our sort of learning over the last 10 years is just that stock is the most important part of our business. On the stock and casks and re-racking, wood management is just all absolutely critical to what we do. So we actually we had the idea in 2019, I think, and that's when we started buying casks. And even at that time, Gordon and I said to each other, the earliest we will release will be 2023, because we knew we needed that time to do a lot of re-racking, get the whiskies into casks of our choosing, and get to a quality point that we'd be really happy to release as our own products. But in terms of sourcing casks, we do source from quite a wide network. So I would say probably over 90% would be directly from distilleries or from distilling companies. In general, do we have contracts with the suppliers? That's something we're kind of aiming towards. So we have a few, and we're trying to continue to develop that. So currently we own about 800 casks. We're always looking to increase that. So that's such an important part of the business for us to be investing in future growth. Absolutely key. I would say the casks that we've been acquiring are of all different ages, from new make spirit all the way through until about 30 years old. Obviously, the whiskies that we've released so far, as I said, the malts tend to be between 10 and 15 years. The grains tend to be a little older than that, so quite often older than 20 years old. But to get agreements, long-term agreements for new make fillings and stuff is really important for us as well. So we have a few. We're looking to continue to develop that as well.
So did you say you own 800 casks?
About that, yeah.
Okay, so you're a very rich man. Are you married? So I have some boys and girls who want to marry you now.
No, I don't think so. But it's just, I think the whole time when we started with Turntable, as I said, it's really our sort of firm belief and strategy that stock is so important to what we do, and creating a brand that we didn't want to create something that would get an initial good reception and then we don't have any stock to follow through and actually continue to develop and grow the brand in multiple markets and create something quite serious, which is, we're obviously quite ambitious with what we want to achieve with Turntable. So to do that, we need stock to have any kind of scalability. So it's such an important part of the business for us. And I would say, we obviously, in terms of marketing and tastings and things, we would always spend and work to develop, but 90% of our investment goes into stock and that side of the business.
I had thanks for the question, Dram Experience. I had a similar question before. You own only casks or new make, and it's today tricky to buy casks.
Yeah, no, the market for the last few years, I'd say, to buy casks has been certainly expensive and quite tricky. So it's funny. I'm grateful we started buying when we did, but I also wish we'd started buying 10 years earlier. But yeah, it's just one of these things. But the market's really interesting. I think, obviously, during 2021, 2022, post-COVID, there's been such high demand for whiskey all around the world. And I think brands have performed incredibly well. And the price of cask and new make spirit has been very high. I think now in 2023, with the sort of cost of living crisis and people spending a little more cautiously, that maybe it won't. I don't think it will halt growth, but I think it will just bring a bit more reality to the bigger picture, and the rapid increases in pricing and things. I don't think can continue the way they have over the last few years. So hopefully we become a little more realistic on the pricing of casks and whiskey going forward.
Okay,
Thanks.
so when we talk about being in the spirits business or in the whiskey business, so how did you get there when you start? So is your family was your family working for years and generations in the whiskey company, or are you the first one who said,
No, well, I guess
it's like everyone else, or in the insurance business, I want to do whiskey?
No.
Do you like whiskey?
Let's love both. So I had an interest in Scotch whisky from quite a young age. So my dad worked in the industry for about 30 years or so. So he worked with Inverhouse for a long time, for 20. So, and yeah, I always, to be honest, probably when I was about 16, 17, I always had a lot of interest. Obviously, I mean, the whiskey is a very cool industry, amazing products and great quality, but I also love the nature of the industry. It's unique. There's so many different companies, but we all have to work together to some degree in terms of trade for blending purposes and things. But also there seems to be this broader mission within the companies in Scotch whisky that we all aim to grow the entire category of Scotch whisky, and we all aim to work with each other to do that. So it's not as cutthroat as many other industries, and I love how collaborative it is, and it always captured my interest from a really early age. So I was fortunate out of university to get a job with Benriach Distillery Company, and yeah, there's, I think, a little bit of a saying in the industry that after you start in the industry, nobody ever leaves. So hopefully that's the way for me as well. And yeah, I feel very fortunate to be part of it.
Okay. So, but would it be possible that maybe next year you buy some cask from maybe Australia, from India, from Germany to do an international blend?
So it's something that we love, and we're working in the background to do these kind of projects. There's some amazing new world whiskies coming available now, and the idea is for Turntable, we want to be innovative, we want to push boundaries, and ultimately in the pursuit of flavor development and quality. But we're already working in that direction. There's certainly some complications to be aware of and overcome, but if you're patient with us, we plan to have something quite exciting in the near future.
Very good answer. You say everything and nothing.
You can call it all you need is love.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good. Okay, so let's continue. Let's go to the third one, to the bittersweet symphony of destruction. No.
Symphony of Destruction from Megadeth.
Symphony of Destruction. That wasn't the bittersweet symphonies from what's the name of the band?
The Verve.
The Verve. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of funny actually. On the limited editions, we went deliberately for song titles. So Firestarter, The Prodigy, tying in with our peated. You have
Firestarter, yes.
Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix tying in with the
Very cool.
heavily sherried, and not many people know the song Joy, Discovery, Invention is by a band called Biffy Clyro. So they were at the same school as me, and it was the first concert I ever went to. It's the first song on their first album, and I just love the words Joy, Discovery, Invention. I thought it really tied into what we want to do with Turntable, and it seemed a fit for our first ever bottling. But I guess the point was, on the core range, we actually steered away from specific song names. We were going to go more in the direction of very flavor focused. So like, so Paradise Funk, we're thinking Paradise isn't an actual flavor, but give the idea of those tropical flavors, fruits, sunny days, drinking occasion, and then the category of funk music being sort of unpredictable, ever changing, always evolving. That was the kind of idea. And then on Bittersweet Symphony, bittersweet coming from the heavy sherry cask, especially the Oloroso, that kind of dry spice, and then combined with some of the Pedro Jimenez, that sweetness as well. So that kind of bittersweet was the flavor profile, and then symphony is the coming together of all the components to create something that is more interesting, more exciting than the sum of all of its parts. So this one was never really deliberately meant to be named after a song, but the name was almost too perfect not to, and I like the song as well, so it was just it wasn't as deliberate as the limited editions were.
All right, so for me, Bittersweet Symphony is a song I like very much, but I heard it too often. So maybe it's like sherry cask. I like it, but I had it too often.
I mean, it's interesting on the whole sherry that I don't know. I love sherry matured whiskey, but there are times today that I try some whiskies that I think they can be almost over sherried. They can be a little one-dimensional, that all you really taste is the sweet PX, and there's maybe not the whiskey side, the spirit coming through. So we were really conscious about that when we were thinking what we wanted for our sherry matured whiskey, and we working with heavier styles of malt and spirit we think works well. So using the likes of Craig Ellachie, Not Do, Balmenic, sort of heavier styles of spirit that we think stand up very well to powerful flavor profile that comes from these first fill sherry casks. So we were really conscious that we wanted to create a whiskey that was still well balanced and had a lot of layers of complexity to it as well.
I love the smell of this whiskey. So it's very,
Totally.
very intense. It's a lot of cherries in my nose and
chocolate.
So it smells a little bit like Bladner for me.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. We don't have any Bladnock in this one, but
I read it. So it's Craig Ellachie, a lot of Craig Ellachie, PX and Oloroso cask, and we have Burr Assel, Balmenach, North British again, Virgin Oak. But it's really has a great nose. I like it very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for Slander.
Slander.
I think in Germany as well, there is definitely a market for darker, sweeter style sherry matured whiskey. So I hope this one will be in Germany as well.
So nice color in the bottle. Yeah. It's really a little bit bittersweet. So the name fits completely.
Oh, thank you.
Smells a little bit sweeter than it is in taste. So Laura is commenting, it's a little bit like a grain. I don't think so. So there's some grain inside, yes?
Yeah, it's all personal and an interesting comment, because I would say the Bittersweet Symphony is probably the highest malt content of the three core range. I'm trying to think. The I mean, this is over 80% malt, so 19% grain. So quite, I would still say very full-bodied, very heavy. But yeah, it's all very personal on.
Okay.
Is the bitterness from the grain?
To me, actually, I think that slight bitterness is more coming from the Oloroso. I think that it's still obviously a very sweet style of sherry wine, but I think it's just that little bit spicier and I don't know, a little more complex than some of the PX as well.
Great.
Yeah, so I think for me that Craig Elke Oloroso is bringing the slight bitterness.
Ich habe nochmal hier von der Website auch die Informationen eingeblendet. Da sieht man nochmal die Anteile auf der Fässer. Genau. Ich finde, die haben sie wirklich ganz, ganz toll gemacht. Auch eine sehr aufgeräumte Website.
Sowas liebe ich.
Ja.
I love it.
Genau. Blend Breakdown. So it's like in a song, it's like, and now we have a break. And it's a drum solo. Genau, it's like introducing the band. And with
Chocolate Pits. Breakdown heavy metal is a circle pit every time.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think also für die Freunde von Scotch oder von Whisky mit ganz viel Frucht, mit herben Fruchtnoten, mit einer schönen Schokoladennote, glaube ich, ist das eine tolle Wahl. Ist die neuen Geschichten, die Core Range, alle 54,90 bei uns im Online-Shop. Also guckt da dann mal rein die Tage, wenn der online ist. Ich glaube, das kann ganz spannend sein für euch. Und nochmal, wir reden da jedes Mal drüber, aber ob jetzt Blend oder Single Malt, taste is what matters. So. Okay, Daniel, du bist ja lange Zeit Sherry-Fan gewesen. Sherry-Whisky, du bist ein bisschen auf Bourbon-Cast wieder zurückgegangen oder gewechselt, wie auch immer. Aber erinnere dich, als du damals ein großer Sherry-Freund warst, wie würdest du den Whisky einordnen?
Ja, ich bin gefeiert. Finde ich richtig gut. Also ist lecker. Ich weiß, was Laura meint. Ich glaube nämlich auch, das habe ich extra die Frage gestellt, dass es so ein bisschen vom Oloroso herkommt. Es ist eine Würzigkeit drin. Aber der ist so, in der Nase ist der so großartig, wie du auch sagtest, so süß, so schön und im Geschmack habe ich halt wirklich PX, bisschen Schokolade mit dabei, also ich finde ihn auch toll. Der macht nicht mehr, aber der macht das, was er macht er richtig gut. Ich finde ihn lecker. Also ist anders als die ersten beiden, ganz anderes Profil, aber sehr lecker.
Okay, so Ali, we have a very, very nice compliment for you because the Dram Experience wrote something, and I think you will maybe be a little bit happy about that. Look here.
Oh, that's very kind. That's very kind. No, I mean, it's really nice to see. I mean, have so much respect and look up to what Compass Box are doing for sure. Like, and they've been sort of trailblazers in this area for 20 years or so, and I think hopefully there's room for a new guy, a new brand on that kind of space as well. And obviously we look to do things a little differently, but yeah, I think Compass Box have done an amazing job to date. And in a way, when Gordon and I spoke about doing our own project, probably the slightly easier route that we could have taken was to go down the road of independent bottling. And like, there's some absolutely amazing independent bottlers, but I think we both felt that we were maybe a little late to that game, and there's enough independent bottlers out there, and it's not really what the industry needs. I don't think either of us felt a huge amount of passion towards it, but the idea of really focusing on changing the perception of blended whiskey and trying to show people how exciting a category this can be, that gets us excited, gets us up in the morning, gives us a real sort of goal every day that we're truly passionate about. So no, it's an exciting period for us.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks, that's very kind. Thank you.
So where are you exactly located? Are you in
So
London?
we're in. Yeah, Gordon and I are in Glasgow.
In Glasgow?
Yeah, Glasgow.
Okay.
Yeah. So most of we do have stock held in a number of warehouses around Scotland, but the vast majority is in a warehouse just outside Glasgow, and we do most of our re-racking there. So bringing in fresh casks from the US, so a lot of American oak, bourbon cask, virgin oak, ex-rye casks coming in directly from the States, and then obviously some really good quality sherry casks coming in from bodegas in Spain that we source directly, and of course various kinds of high quality wine casks as well from some different European suppliers. But that's sort of main operation of our business, and we're currently doing the bottling just outside Edinburgh.
Okay. So if maybe our customers or we go to Glasgow, is there a place where we can visit you, or is it just the office at your parents' house?
Not today.
And a warehouse anywhere?
I would say, I mean, there's not really an interesting location for us to visit yet. I mean, obviously going to that main warehouse operation is cool for us to go and see our stock and things and keep on top of the operations there. But I would say in the next 3 years, there'd be a sort of real ambition and goal for Gordon and I to set up our sort of own warehousing operation, bottling line, blending lab, as a sort of visitor experience and bespoke space as well. That's definitely the ambition, but it's just trying to do that. And as I said, most of our investment right now is going towards stock and casks and in a different area. But I think within 3 years is realistic. That's the target.
Okay, sounds good. So because I need a place where I can buy your sweater. So, but when we met in Bremen, I said, let's change now, and you don't want it to. So,
that's the first t-shirts I ever got. That's the only merchandise we have.
So maybe it will be very, very worthy one day. So
Sascha,
we just want now.
No. This is a special one.
Galactic what?
Star Wars.
Oh, it's very special. No, very nice. That is cool.
So I like the brand from Turntable so much. It's such a good design. I love it.
We'll scale up the merchandise as well for you.
Okay, just a second. I need to hide Daniel because I think he get paid for that. So he's out now.
Nice.
Okay.
Every planet in Star Wars, every planet in Star Wars where you can buy beer, space beer.
No, it was actually quite cool, and all the brand work and the design stuff that we did for Turntable. Though it's one of my very close friends at university. He started a design company in Glasgow called Thirst Craft. So I think they've been going for maybe 8 years or so, and they're doing an amazing job, amazing company. But when we came with the idea of Turntable Spirits, we never went and spoke to like multiple design agencies or anything. We just picked up phone to an old friend and said, yeah, we definitely want to work together, and they've done an amazing job. It's been a lot of fun working with them on it.
Okay, so let's continue. Let's go for the last whiskey today. So we put it at the end because I think there's some peat inside. So it's called Smoke and Rib.
Yeah.
I have to change my banner here. Just a second. So
Yes.
and yeah, so Daniel and I are great peat heads, so we like peated whiskey. So I'm very, very interested in this one. Yeah, that's good. And there's a distillery inside, which is part of a lot of blends. I think it's Carolina from Ida. And yeah, so we have two types of cask. I will share it with you just a second.
Bourbon and red wine. All right.
Yeah. I'd say no. Kalila is such a great distillery as well, making amazing whiskey. But trying to source whiskey from different Islay distilleries today is really, really difficult. So even Kalila is amazing to be working with.
But Kyle never had a red wine in their core range. Never.
That is it. So that's a re-rack one for us. Yeah, that's one that we I think probably re-racked about 24 months ago or so about 2 years. But yeah, I mean, again, a little similar to the philosophy that I spoke about on the sherry matured whiskey for Smoke and Riff. We wanted to create a whiskey that has that sort of lead flavor note of the peat, the campfire smoke, but we don't want it to be one-dimensional. We want it to have different layers, different complexity, and to really soften into another flavor profile. So I'd actually say the peat of this one is quite soft on the nose, and then on the first taste, I would say that the first flavor profile you get is this sort of campfire smoke, slightly salty nature, obviously coming from Islay. But then the whiskey really softens into some of those other flavors coming from the Knockdo sherry cask, from the North British Virgin Oak, Craigellachie PX as well. So quite a lot of Pedro Jimenez sweetness in there to combine with the smoke. But I think this is a whiskey we're really proud of in terms of just the actual layers of complexity. So yeah, I hope you guys like it.
It feels like you're sitting 10 meters from a bonfire. So.
Nice.
So for me, I smell a lot of fresh notes, so like eucalyptus.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Nice.
Yes, of course.
So where is this fresh note coming from? From which distillery?
I mean, what we're looking at there, I'm guessing that's probably the
Craigellachie?
I would guess the Knockdo or North British, but
okay.
It's one of these things that tasting, it is so personal. So like obviously we give the breakdown of the components and what flavors each is bringing to the overall blend, but of course I think even tonight we can see that everybody has different palate, goes in slightly different directions. So I think even for us with the tasting notes that we provide on the packaging, on the bottles, we try for it just to be quite simple and just a guideline, just a steer, and then let people go from there and hopefully tell us exactly what you think, because I think we can all agree that whiskey is different for everyone.
For me now, it's the most complex whiskey of your range in the nose at this moment. As long as I smell it, so I get some adding notes every second. So first I had the smoke, now the smoke is completely away, the peat, and I smell the eucalyptus, and then there came some sherry, and some cinnamon as well.
Yeah, I think the cinnamon, dried fruits, the raisins and dates and things coming from the PX, I think come through for me.
Ja, so. Ich will mal probieren. Slange. So today, Mr. Drum Experience is the guy with the most questions. So we have another question. Will you release blended malts?
So I think the idea at this stage is no, and it's not that we're against it. It's I feel like with Turntable, we want every time we blend to keep things as unrestricted and open as possible to bring, just to give us freedom to bring as many flavors, as much complexity and as much quality as we can to each dram. So I always find it interesting. I feel like single casks, although there are amazing single casks, it can be quite restrictive. Single malt in some ways can be restrictive. Blended malt in some ways is restricting. So I think our whole philosophy is just to remove restriction and try to allow for that creativity as much as possible. There will be blends that the malt content will be extremely high. So I think the highest that we'd had so far was on the Track 3, is 86% malt, 14% grain. So if it makes sense for us at the time that the whiskey we're creating is perfect as a blended malt, or we feel it's perfect as a blended malt, we would release it that way. But at this point, the focus is very much on blended whiskey.
I think the question is not about quality, so it's just about taste. And I think Drum Experience will have some just pure grain whiskeys in his life that he liked. So it's completely it's not important for me. It's a blend.
Yeah, I mean, on the kind of flip side of that one, I get quite excited about the idea of doing something that's like really high grain content, so like a 90-10 grain malt, but doing it in a really, really premium way, and really focusing on the old grain whiskies and what flavor profile that can bring to the overall blend. So I think there's lots that we can do.
So I think, is it maybe just a little bit a question about pricing? So if you only use single malt whiskeys for your blends, will the whiskey normally get a little bit more expensive?
Yeah, I mean, in general, and of course it depends what age of whiskies that you're talking in there as well. So I think, you're just looking at that versus quality, that ultimately for value. And I would say even the way that we are currently looking at building our stock portfolio and what we're investing in and things, of course it's strategic as to where we see gaps and what we need to fill, but a lot of the time it's where we're looking for the best value as well, where we feel that is the best quality and the best value. It doesn't matter if it's grain, malt, or wherever it's coming from, where we're always looking for like the best quality value that we can find.
Okay, but do you have a strategy in pricing that you say, okay, let's only choose barrels to get interaction?
It's so far, no. I mean, not really. We are certainly conscious on pricing, that we want our whiskies to be as accessible as possible. And we think, obviously, for us to try and break this stereotype that blends are about volume and single malts are where the quality lies, for us to break that, the most important thing is that people get the opportunity to taste the whiskies. So we need to price it in a way that people aren't afraid to open bottles and are happy to open and drink the whiskies. So we have, on both the limited releases and the core range, we have tried to keep the pricing as sort of accessible as we possibly can.
Yeah. So we talked about Compass Box, and when I see have a look at their special series, so which is around 300 euros here in Germany. Yes. So this is. I'm always wondering who's buying these whiskeys. It's not buying a blend for 300 or 350 euros.
I would say that kind of pricing is probably not really in our plans just now, unless it is something completely off the wall that becomes available in terms of what the malt types are and what the overall flavor profile that we're bringing and things. But it's not really in our strategy. As I said, we don't want. It's not our goal right now to release whiskey bottles that are for collectors. If people choose to collect, then that's really nice. But the goal for us is that people are opening and enjoying and loving the whiskies.
Let's talk about that point 5 years later. We have a new strategy. So we thought about that. Here's a new whiskey, 1,000 euros. Only 3 bottles.
I'm still a whiskey geek as well, Sascha. So,
okay. Great. Any more questions from the audience? So post it now, then we can put it here in and answer your questions. Otherwise, Daniel, do you have any more questions on your white sheet?
What can we expect to see in the future?
What can you expect? Yeah, I mean, certainly the core range that we've just released is a really big moment for us to have whiskies that will be regularly available. So that was almost a huge priority for us this year. But in terms of the next steps in innovation, we'll continue to keep the range fresh with some exciting new releases, limited releases, product development. As you said, I mean, working with international distilleries and things is something that we're looking at as well. So I think there's lots to look forward to. We plan to have one more limited edition this year. I think it's a really exciting project. You need to, I'll drop you a message when it comes so we can have a chat about it in detail. But it's
You don't
it's
need
one
to
that
drop
we're
us a
really
message,
pushing
you can drop us
boundaries
a
on. Really, no, one that we're really excited about. And then obviously I think it's a balance for us between keeping the range fresh and exciting with really good, authentic, quality, innovative products, but not flooding the market with countless limited releases. So we want it to be a nice balance between the core range and limited editions.
Okay, so for me, I liked your 3 core range whiskies very, very much today. I like track 1 as well, but I tried it before, but the new ones are very, very good. I like it very much, and I think we will put in our shop these days, so ihr zu Hause könnt diese Whiskys kaufen. Freuen wir uns drüber, wenn ihr Ellie unterstützt quasi mit seinem Bruder zusammen dieses tolle Projekt Turntable Blending House, Turntable Blending House, weiter irgendwie zu unterstützen und da irgendwie coole, bezahlbare Blends oder Whiskys auf den Markt zu bringen. Finde ich super, würde mich freuen. Müssen noch ein bisschen Werbung machen natürlich, damit ihr weiter bei der Stange bleibt. Wir haben den nächsten Livestream geplant für den 2. November. Da haben wir die Original Malts von Douglas Lane am Start. Wieder 4 Stück. Es gibt das Tasting Set wieder für 19,90 €. Und die Infos gibt es wie immer auf heimathaven.com. Da kann man den auch schon bestellen. Die ersten haben das sogar schon bestellt und was anderes bekommen. Laura, liebe Grüße nochmal.
Ich bekomme das dann ja exklusiv eine Stunde vorher.
Genau, Laura kriegt im Moment, immer wenn sie was bestellt, kriegt sie was Falsches. Das ist total verrückt. Es ist so, als ob jemand Laura bei uns im Laden liest und sagt, okay, ich will mit ihr reden. Wir machen was anderes da rein und dann kann sich Laura wieder bei uns melden. Immer wieder lustig. So, aber ich, sage einfach mal Danke an alle, die dem Whisky Talk folgen, die uns immer wieder einschalten, die sich die Videos anschauen, die mitprobieren, hinterher natürlich auch die eine oder andere Flasche bestellen. Von daher bleibt dabei. Vielen, vielen Dank. Alle, die es noch nicht gemacht haben, übrigens folgt uns auf Instagram und abonniert diesen YouTube-Kanal. Auch das ist cool für uns. Und jetzt gehe ich zurück zu Ellie und seinen letzten Worten. Mal gucken, was er uns noch zu sagen hat. Ich bin sehr gespannt. Ich habe noch 2 Kommentare. Guck mal hier. Die Kanake sehr sagen, war ein sehr schöner und informativer Abend. Vielen Dank. So we have a comment that says this was a very beautiful and evening with a lot of information. They want to say thank you to you. And so Laura, this comment is special. She's ordering the next tasting set, but she already ordered it. So
Nice.
We all knew it. So Ellie, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing all these informations with us. And it's like always meeting with you, very, very nice and funny, and you're a very sympathetic guy. Stay like this, please.
Nice.
Looking forward for your next nice blends, hopefully, and we will support Turntable Blending House.
Amazing. No, it's a big thank you from you guys, honestly, to have the opportunity to introduce our whiskies to, of course, you guys and your customers, everybody listening is such a pleasure, and it's a little overwhelming at times for us to finally be at this stage of sharing our whiskies with people, and it's such a pleasure, and thank you for the support. We really appreciate it.
Okay, so Holger saying it was great, thank you, and best wishes from Delmenhorst, which is, I think, the most beautiful city in Germany.
Sarah Connor is from Delmenhorst, huh?
Oh, nobody knows Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor, international.
Okay, so Ari, thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Have a good time.
Thank
Best
you.
greetings to your parents. And
Thanks so much, guys.
And
See you.
have a nice day. See you again.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So, und ihr alle zu Hause, das war's für heute. Schaltet wieder ein. Daniel, hast du noch letzte Worte? Sonst schmeiße ich alle raus.
War super. Lieben Dank. War schön. Nächstes Mal wieder einschalten und trinken.
Tschüss.
Tschö.